Hello and welcome back to Bits and Bobs. Today's video is the life and legacy of King George III, the monarch of the month for August, as voted by you. So let's begin. Here we can see King George III's father, Frederick, Prince of Wales, son of George II. So George III is the grandson of George II, and here we can see his mother, Princess Augusta, there on the right of the screen. Now King George III, or Prince George at the time, was born on the 4th of June in 1738, and here we can see a young picture of Prince then and future King George III in his childhood. It is reported that he was a shy child, but very loving to his family, especially his mother, with who he had a very strong connection. Growing up under the reign of his grandfather, King George II, he never expected to be King George III, but tragedy struck early in his life. His father and heir to the throne died in 1851, aged only 44, leaving a very young and new Prince of Wales. The future King George III became heir to the throne, aged only 12. And now, of course, his training and practicing to become king had to be ramped up earlier in his life. It is reported that Prince George tried very hard and tried his very best at school and trying to learn how to be king, but was very anxious and worried he would not fulfill his grandfather's legacy. George II then died on the 25th of October in the year 1760, meaning that on the 25th of October in 1760, a new king came to the throne of England, the UK, and the abroad territories and empire, that being King George III, who was at the time only 22. And on the 22nd of September in 1761, the year after his coronation ceremony took place that year, was a grand and spectacular event, and now fully installed him as the King of England for many decades to come. So let's go through those decades now and look at the key events during his timeline. Later that year, he married his true love, Queen Charlotte, making her Queen Charlotte. Then, the same year, John Stuart was installed as Prime Minister, a great friend of his during his early life. In 1769, Captain James Cook set sail for his first adventures and voyages in the Pacific. In 1771, the Encyclopedia Britannica is published for the first time. And in 1775, James Watt develops the first ever steam engine, a very influential discovery going forward. Now, during the late 1770s, there had been war and battles in the colonies over who should own the land, the British or the colonists, this land being the USA. Of the 13 original colonies. And the USA, the United States, was then first made on July the 4th, 1776, and has now led on to be the country we know today as America, as more and more states joined, now having 50 states within this union. And in 1783, Britain would officially recognize the USA as an independent country. In 1788, George III would suffer his first attack of porphyria, as he was troubled with ill health as his reign went on. Also that year, the new colony of South Wales was set up in Australia by the British colonists who had gone over there. In 1793, King Louis XVI of France was publicly executed. This then put an end to the French royal family, a little worrying for George III and the British royal family. In 1798, Nelson would lead the British fleet to victory, complete victory over the French, as all French ships were destroyed at the Battle of the Nile that year in 1798. A very famous battle in Egypt. And in 1798, public income tax was introduced to fund the upcoming Napoleonic Wars. It was promised that it would be temporary, but still to this day, income tax is still taxed by the government. The turn of the century, 1800, saw the Act of Union between Ireland and United Kingdom Britain, then all having one parliament, one shared parliament, the Houses of Parliament to rule the United Kingdom. 1803 was the start of the Napoleonic Wars, England against France. One of the most famous battles of this time was the Battle of Trafalgar. And here we can see some images of the battle, a very large-scale and important battle with Nelson leading the British and Napoleon leading the French. It was, in the end, a British victory, as Napoleon was defeated at the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805, as history tells. In 1807, George III passed a law to ban the slave trade across the British Empire. Slaves could still be used legally, but no longer traded. In 1809, the British defeat the French troops at the Battle of Corunna, another victory in the ongoing Napoleonic Wars. Now sadly, in 1810, King George III's health took a turn for the worst. His eldest son, Prince George, who would later become George IV, took over the rule as the Prince Regent. Now he could exercise full powers of the king and act as a king would. However, George III was of course still the king, and he could decide and overrule any of George IV or Prince George's decisions. In 1812, the British army were very busy battling Napoleon in Europe. And so the US saw this as a great time to try and invade Canada, adding more land to their union of states. Canada was British owned though, and so the British went in, even though they were busy, burnt down the White House, drove away the US troops, and secured Canada as a North American British territory to stay for many years to come. Despite this, British forces still beat Napoleon famously, with the last battle of the Napoleonic Wars being Waterloo. The Battle of Waterloo, led by the Duke of Wellington, and then finally put an end to Napoleon's reign. He was beaten once and for all. Then, in 1816, the start of a new recoinage began, as all coins were changed to a new standard weight, size and diameter. All the silver coins were in proportion so that you could weigh silver coins of different denominations and find out the value through the weight. And the guinea that had been used since the reign of James II was then removed from circulation. Guineas were no longer legal tender, and a new gold coin based style was introduced, the gold sovereign, and its counterparts half, double and 5 sovereign pieces as well. Now Queen Charlotte, George III's wife, sadly passed away in 1818 towards the end of his reign, and he would pass away then in 1820, living to a grand old age and having a great long reign. His death brought sadness and mourning to the whole country and to the empire. He died on the 29th of January in the year 1820, aged 81, just before his 82nd birthday, a great age to live to for someone born in the early 1700s. He left behind a great legacy and a large family of royals to carry on the succession line of the royal family of Britain. Prince George, who had been acting as Prince Regent up till now, then became the proper king with no boundaries to his powers, as he was now the King of England after the passing of his father. However, because of his father's long reign, he would only have a short reign himself, just over a decade. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching, and please do comment down below any extra facts you have of King George III. And as well, please do subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and we'll see you again soon for some more coins in the future on Bits and Bobs.